Welcome to Where They Wander. We are Kat and Kev, and we travel full-time around the United States in our Grand Design Imagine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are on our way to the Magnolia Plantation.
Why are you talking like that?
I don't know. We're going to the Magnolia Plantation today in Charleston, South Carolina.
I think this is one of the oldest plantations still standing in the United States. It's from 1667, I believe. If you've watched our trip to Niagara Falls, you will know that we walked for almost 2 hours to get to the Behind the Falls tour. Last ticket was 8 o'clock, however they closed the line at 7. If you book your tickets online here, please make sure you get here at least 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time, because you still have to wait in line at the ticket booth. There is no benefit to booking them online other than the fact that you have a reservation. So basically when you book online, it's simply reserving your spot. It is not your ticket. You then still have to go and stand in line. So we missed our spot, so now we have an hour to walk around the gardens, which means we're not going to get to do one of our tours here. Let's go have a look around the gardens.
We're going to go to the gardens. Right here is the entrance. Well, here we are at the Magnolia Gardens on the National Register of Historic Places.
So this garden was built in the Romantic style, and it certainly is. And the lady that checked us in at the ticket booth said that all the flowers have come about a month early, so we are blessed to see all the flowers out apparently.
And smell.
Oh, it's beautiful. Here we are. Now, the tour guide here, the little paper that they give you, is numbered. However, the numbers don't have anything written on them, and there is no guide. Around here, look. Oh my goodness, look at this.
Just look how big this tree is. Amazing.
Up to the river. Miss Juliana. Early accounts of life on Magnolia Plantation reveal much about daily routine. It is known that at one time a plantation flat named the Juliana was used to carry produce down to Charleston. Well, this must be what this boat is right here. Oh, I see. This is a reconstruction of these little boats right here, and they would go on the river right out here. This plantation was originally called the Drayton House, and it was here in 1780 that Cornwallis attacked. And there were troops in Charleston that could have fended him off quite easily. They were in small wooden boats, and just a couple of cannon shots, and they would have been gone. But the loyalists of the crown allowed him to come and take over Charleston, giving him the troops he needed to head north and then attack Washington and the northern states. However, Cornwallis then cornered himself in Yorktown. The French fleet arrived, and there you have the surrender of Cornwallis and the Battle of Yorktown. So we're here right at the boat, and from this boat, I don't know whether they do boat tours, but this is where the river trail starts, and you can take this trail. It is a hiking and biking trail, and you can take this trail, and I think it's a loop that goes around the wildlife refuge. Sadly, we don't have time to do that today. And here we are now at the Drayton family tomb, who were the original owners and builders of this plantation. It was originally called the Drayton House. William Henry Drayton, son of the original owner, was appointed to the Continental Congress. As delegates debated how to celebrate America's newfound independence, two ideas emerged, both from South Carolina. Drayton argued that the day should be celebrated with fireworks, while Henry Lawrence, father of John Lawrence, proposed fasting and mourning. Drayton's idea won out, and the first firework display was held on July 4th, 1778, with just 13 fireworks. Died in 1779 at the age of 37. While serving in the Continental Congress, he was buried in the faraway Philadelphia at historic Christ Church, whose members 200 years later have seen fit to return dust from his gravestone to be interred here with that of his ancestors amidst the beauty of his beloved plantation. We're going to continue from here, and we're going to go to the house and be there for 10 so we don't miss yet another tour.
the plantation. Getting some shots. These big trees right here. There's a cat. Hi, cat. And the river's out this way.
A huge thank you to all our subscribers and members on YouTube. If you are not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can become a member and support us as we support small businesses around the United States by clicking the link in the description below.
Well, here we are walking up to the plantation house. Just a 2-story house, looks like. We're not going in yet, but this is must be the back door here. We're heading down this way, down the old boardwalk. Here we are at the front of the plantation. Huge trees around here. Here's the Nart, not a real train.
They call it a train ride, but it's really a tram, and it takes 45 minutes for you to go around the gardens, and it goes very, very slow. I think you have to have way more people on this for it to actually work. It's very bizarre.
Everything inside is still family owned, and nothing is on loan from another museum. So the family has a few requests. One, there's no videography, no taking videos, no photography inside, okay, of any of the belongings or the tour.
Okay, we've just finished our tour. We saw some really cool stuff in the house. Unfortunately, we're not able to take any pictures.
Again.
And we're back outside. We're going around to the little shop. We're about to go in the gift shop, and this was the slave or servants, paid servants' quarters. Paid servants' quarters down here and the kitchens were downstairs. It's very cool. The only place you can film in the house is in the gift shop. And I'm sure it's okay to film in the house, isn't it? It's okay to film in the gift shop.
I'm sorry.
There you go. We have permission to film in the gift shop. So we're gonna look around and see if we can find a sticker.
All right, we are back in the car. We did have another tour booked today. It was called the Slavery to Freedom Tour, but sadly, because we arrived at kind of 5 to 10, we missed our 10 o'clock house tour, so we had to do the 11 o'clock tour, which means we really didn't have enough time to do the Slavery to Freedom Tour, but we believe it's very, very good, and it's included if you get the house and gardens. You just have to book a time. So that was fun. You could do an awful lot more here. We only have a couple of days in Charleston, and yesterday we were rained out. So we are now heading down to Charleston, and we're going to use our GPS My City app, which we use all the time, to do a couple of hours walking around the historic center of Charleston. Check out the swamp along the exit here. Look at this. Oh my goodness.
We made it to downtown Charleston. We're at the waterfront park and found our first fountain. Beautiful area. Lots of people here today. It's a Saturday. You can see the waterfront park here. This looks like a passenger terminal here. People are going down there to get on the boat. There's Fort Sumter out there. See if I could focus in on it.
I think it's the ferry to Fort Sumter. That's why there's so many people.
There it is, right there. What'd you find, Kat?
It's kind of like the history of Charleston, or Charlestown as it was originally called, and this was actually the richest place per capita of any of the colonies. With its rice, cotton, tobacco, all of these plantations made an awful lot of money for this area. However, after the Civil War, Charleston was pretty much burnt to the ground and penniless.
And what are these? Are different maps of the area
Yeah,
for different
so
time periods?
All the way at the end over there when it was just
Right.
a little town.
Okay. Here's the original colony from the 1600s. It was just a tiny little bit right here in the end. Right there.
Which is actually where we are now.
And then you've got this one from the 18th century during the Revolutionary War.
Not that much bigger, really, is it?
And then this one here, the 19th century, during the Civil War.
And it's obviously much, much bigger 100 years later, and that's what it is today.
We've got the more modern era right here, the 20th century. And then it looks like this today.
Here at the Waterfront Park is where you would take the water taxi to go to Fort Sumner. Sadly for you guys, Kevin and I have done Fort Sumner. We don't want to go again. It is very interesting. It's totally worth it. It's about a third of the size that it was originally. And of course, that is where the Civil War started. The first shots that were fired during the Civil War were fired right here in Charleston after they had seceded from the United States, along with the other 11 states at that point that seceded. And right now they're playing football here, so we're going to get out of the way. But this is where you take the water taxi right over here. It's $14, and that does include your entrance to the park. Of course, if you have a National Park Pass, I think it might be a little cheaper for the ferry, but you get into the park for free. So now we're going to come and see the Palmetto Fountain. And as is just our luck and the running gag of our videos, it's under construction and it's not running. Well, here it is. I don't know why it's not running, but it isn't. But it is very, very beautiful, and it looks out over to the waterfront. We'll go on the other side and give you a look. We are going to go do the city walk. It is very, very busy. Normally, if we go to a city, we're usually here as early as possible. But because we were a day late, because of the rain, we have ended up in Charleston around lunchtime. So it's very busy. There's all these little areas where you can just sit and chat on the waterfront park. There's a plaque there to an enslaved man from the prior to the Civil War. He was sent to this area to earn money for his master, and actually led a rebellion and managed to stop here, pick up his family and a load of other slaves, and without being noticed by anybody managed to get this ship to the Union soldiers, which not only gave them a ship but also gave them labor, because they then fought for the Union side and their freedom.
One of the popular attractions here in Charleston is the USS Yorktown aircraft carrier and museum. They have a lot of aircraft on display on the deck and on the flight deck, and also on the hangar deck. We took that tour the last time we were here. It is awesome.
Right, and this ship was built primarily by women, and it was one of the fastest ships ever built in American history. It was built in just 13 months. This is the French Quarter here in Charleston, just off Bay. Bay Street seems to be the main street in this city right now. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start at the old Prevost Dungeon.
Colonial City, we should say.
At the end of Bay and Broad, or the connection of Bay and Broad, you come to the Old Exchange and Prevost Dungeon. Charleston was a thriving port, and everything that they grew here, they then sent up the Ashley River to then trade. And this was the Old Exchange. Beautiful building, built in 1761.
Here we are at 1 Broad Street. This building is one of America's finest crafted Italianate structures. First opened in 1853 as a state bank of South Carolina, it survived bombardment, hurricanes, and a major earthquake, and twice been restored. This site has been almost continuously occupied since the city's founding over 300 years ago.
So we're here on Rainbow Road, which is just right on Bay Street. And we've actually crossed the road because you get a much better view of the pastels and the houses from this side. Also, it's crazy busy on the other side of the road. So let's have a look from over here. So it's called Rainbow Road because of the pretty colours. They're all pastels, and the original 13 Georgian houses that are oldest ones in Charleston.
These historic homes were first constructed around 1740.
They were not always brightly coloured. After the Civil War, the area was rather run down and considered a slum. They weren't painted these pretty colours until the early 1930s. There are so many beautiful properties around here. It's absolutely beautiful. But like Kevin just pointed out, it's very difficult to know which properties are actually old or which properties have just been built in the same style to keep it looking old. It is very pretty.
They build new houses in the spirit of the old houses for sure around here.
These cobblestones were originally brought over probably from England, but also from anywhere in Europe, and they were used on the ships as ballast. And so they then put them to good use once they got here to create the streets in Charleston and many other of the original colonies. This house here is the Anchor and Wharf building. It was built circa 1781, and it is the only building on the wharf that survived all of the wars. So it's quite a beautiful property, and it's the original one that was here on the wharf in 1781. So Bay Street is what was originally the front of the bay. All of the properties you see on this side have all been reclaimed. The city used to have a wall all around it, and these bastions that you see here, there's the little triangles right here, was so they could fortify it and see the walls from all angles. They would go out onto those and be able to see the walls from all angles. And this is a plaque on the Historical Society's wall. This is still Bay Street, and like I say, this is what it would have originally looked like with these beautiful houses directly on the bay. So this is it, and look, they're racing out here. This is the Edmonston Alston house, and it was built in the 1870s. It was originally built by Mr. Edmondson, who was a Scottish man who was very, very rich. And then it was later purchased by Alston, who was a rice farmer. Now, what we learned at the plantation is that rice was like gold here. Apparently, Napoleon called the rice here from Carolina the rice for kings. One of the things that Kevin noted is that all of these houses do not face the bay. They all face the Battery, which is where we're going next. And we're not sure whether that was for cooling purposes, for the sun, but you'll notice that all of these houses have their patios and all of their pretty side facing south, not facing toward the water. The young couple were just walking behind us on the Battery, and the young man was trying to impress the girls, I'm sure, because he said, well, I'm pretty sure that there was no military action ever here in Charleston. Revolutionary War, Civil War, and World War II were all prime areas for Charleston. And here we are at the Battery with all the cannons. Here is a statue to Moultrie. This is General Moultrie. He is a famous son of Charleston, and he fought and won an unexpected victory against the British during the Revolutionary War. It was very unexpected, and then it gave the Americans an advantage.
He garrisoned a flag consisting of a crescent moon on a field of blue, just like the South Carolina flag is today.
So the Battery is beautiful. This is literally the tip end of Charleston. And right here, I think this is a Revolutionary War monument. Let's go find out. Here we go. It is to the Confederate Defenders of Charleston, Fort Sumter, from 1861 to 1865. And it is a beautiful statue. I think this is World War II, maybe? Oh. Again, 1776, so this is a Revolutionary War. The Defenders of Fort Moultrie, June the 28th, 1776. Okay, so we are now going to cross here, but we're actually going to the Calhoun Mansion. But all of these houses look like mansions to me. Look at these. They're huge, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so what we learned at the plantation is the plantation houses after the Civil War were built smaller when Charleston was developed, and they had houses in town where they could entertain, and they didn't need such a large house on the plantation anymore.
Right, and during the Civil War, almost every single plantation, houses were burnt, crops were burnt, and the wells were poisoned, and it was called scorched earth. So this right here is the Calhoun Mansion. Look at this. So we've learned, or Kevin has just realized, that all of these houses face the south, and that's so they can keep the house cooler.
In the heat of summer, the southern sun makes the southern half of the house very warm. So they built these verandas, and so that the windows are all shaded. It causes it easy for them to have mechanical air conditioning. They open the top of the house, and the cool from the basement is drawn up into the rooms.
Almost like a whole house fan does today.
Exactly.
The Calhoun Mansion was built in 1875 for George W. Williams, a successful local businessman. When Williams died in 1903, his house was inherited by his son-in-law, Patrick Calhoun, grandson of John C. Calhoun, Vice President of the United States from 1825 to 1832.
This house is directly opposite the Calhoun Mansion. I have no idea what it is. It's a private property. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Private property, no trespassing. Look at this place. So there's still money in Charleston. Let's just say that.
So we were going to eat in Charleston, and we're looking for a Hardee's or McDonald's or Taco
We are
Bell,
not.
something, because everything else is at least $50 to $100 ahead.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong. But we'll find somewhere. So if you want to come and see these incredible azaleas, March is the best time. They are just absolutely stunning. Here we have a little fixer-upper. If you're looking to invest in Charleston, you can purchase this and fix it up. Isn't it beautiful? Former home of Joseph Yates. This house was actually built circa 1815, but in 1855, Henry W. Connor purchased it from the Yates house, and then after the American Civil War, the property was rented by the British consul Robert Bunch, who used it as his home and office when the British were welcome back.
You're wondering why there's a step in the road here. It's not a bench, it's not a seat. This is a step to step up into the carriage for the ladies to step up. So you can stand on here, you bring the carriage close by, and then they can easily step up.
We're crossing back over the street here. So let's see, this is the Daniel Huger House, built in 1760. Lord William Campbell, the last royal governor of South Carolina, and his wife, Lady Sarah Campbell, lived here until 1775, when they were forced to flee Charleston under cover of darkness to the HMS Tamer, ending British rule in South Carolina. Upon his arrival in Charleston on March 15, 1825, the Marquis de Lafayette is reunited with Francis Huger, the son of his comrade Benjamin Huger, who had tried to free Lafayette from an Austrian prison in 1795 during the French Revolution. So this was the last place the British ruled from. It was acquired by Daniel Elliott Huger from his uncle in 1818, and it has ever since remained the property of the Huger family. A lot of these houses have historic plaques on them, and what that means is that they're still private homes, but you cannot do anything to them. You can't change them structurally at all. So this is Nathaniel Russell's house. He was actually from New York. He was one of the famous Yankees down here, and he was a slave trader.
Russell relocated from Rhode Island in 1765, where he prospered as a slave, rice, and indigo merchant. As one of Charleston's more prominent citizens, he required a residence commensurate with his status. He began construction of his house in 1803 and completed it 5 years later.
This is the site of the Colleton Bastion, and this is the plan of Charlestown, prepared by Edward Crisp.
The original Charlestown, huh?
Yeah, I think this was inside of that.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh yeah, so this is Nathaniel's house right here.
This is the South Carolina Society Hall. This society was established as a charity in the 1730s. They built the South Carolina Society Hall in 1804 as a school for female orphans and indigents, as well as a meeting place. In 1826, it became a secondary school, which was closed in 1841. The hall is now part of the National Park Service and is a popular spot for weddings and film locations.
So this is the first Presbyterian church. It was built in 1731. The current building was constructed in 1814, making it the fifth oldest church building in the city. The building was built by Scottish brothers John and James Gordon, which replaced an earlier wooden church. The church has 2 bell towers, but its bells were donated to the military during the Civil War. For years after, the story was told that the bells were never replaced to honor the Confederate dead. However, in 1999, a bell, built in 1814, was reinstalled in the northern tower, the south tower being too fragile for a bell. The bell came from St. John's Church in Preston, England, and weighs 1,470 pounds. It was funded in large part by a congregant, Bonnie Workman, and it is named Bonnie in her honor. There are ladies here hand-weaving these baskets. Aren't they incredible? My goodness me. This magnificent building is Charleston City Hall. It was constructed between 1800 and 1804. The white marble originated in Italy before being cut in Philadelphia. It is now part of the National Park Service.
The Charleston County Courthouse is one of the most important buildings in the state. First built in 1753 as a provincial capital for the colony of South Carolina, the building was reconstructed in 1792 and used for Charleston's district courts.
So this is the Hibernian Society. It was founded on March 17th, obviously St. Patrick's Day in 1801. And it's a beautiful building. But what gets me is that over here, they have stones from the Giant's Causeway. Now, I've been to the Giant's Causeway. It is not in Charleston. It is in County Antrim in Northern Ireland. And it's said that the giants threw these stones, and I'll put a picture up of it because it's incredible. And it was said once to link Ireland and Scotland. Whenever you're in a city and you don't know where you're going, always ask a local where to eat. We asked one of the ladies that were weaving those incredible baskets, okay, we're looking for something, hometown cooking, low country cooking, but we don't want something that's ridiculously crazy expensive. And she pointed us to this, and it is beautiful. This is Coogan's Porch, and we are here for brunch. They are also open for dinner. The main restaurant is through here like this, and they also have lots of outdoor seating, but it's a beautiful place with a bar. Obviously, we don't drink, but very pretty.
Like this.
Okay, guys, this looks amazing.
Our final stop of the day was the Nicholas Trott House. The house was built of English brick and completed in 1719. The two-story brick building is said to be the oldest brick house in Charleston, South Carolina. Nicholas Trott was the first Attorney General for the Carolina province and served as the Chief Justice from 1713 to 1719. We hope you enjoyed our trip to both the Magnolia Plantation and beautiful downtown Charleston. Join us next week as we head to North Carolina and the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Until then, we'll see you on the trail.